The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time, rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, we're going to get the frame of reference of an author, why they write, what makes them tick. And to do that, I have Derek Perrotta, who is the author of The Prophecy of Reckoning and Atonement. This would fall into like Christian fantasy, right?
Yes, it would.
Well, thank you so much for the sneak peek. I really enjoyed reading it, especially before it's published.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. It was really exciting and action-packed. So how did you come up with the storyline?
You know, I've always had a message I felt like I had to get out to the world, and it was more than just action-packed. It was really a message of hope and forgiveness, and I had to figure out how to get this message out so children would want to read it, young adults would want to read it, and something I would enjoy reading myself. And that's kind of the reason why I went into the fantasy realm. But it's really that message of hope, forgiveness, and rebirth, really, that I'm trying to get across.
Oh, so how long did it take you to write the first book?
Took a while. I started writing it, I want to say way back in 1998 maybe is the first document I remember seeing the modified date. But you know, life's blessings come along and you can't just write, right? You have kids, you have family, jobs, all that. So, you know, you kind of put it on the shelf for a while and come back to it. But it was always that something, if I stayed away from it too long, it kept irking me, keep me up at night. And so I found time to write actually early in the morning, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning is when I started writing. Again, probably in 2006, I started really writing it strong and wrapped it up in 2007. This is a funny little story, though. Being a complete newbie or not knowing how many pages truly are in a book or how many words, I discovered that I'd written almost 4 books.
Oh, wow.
So then I went into a phase of slimming it all down to one.
Yeah, because the first book's over 300 pages.
Yep, it's 334, actually. Yeah. You're right on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's books 2 and 3 coming after this? It's a trilogy then?
Yes, book 2 is actually already about 25% done. Writing that in the mornings from 3 to 6. Might be why I put some bags into my eyes. I was writing this morning. And yes, that's Rebirth, Prophecy of Reckoning, Rebirth. And book 3 is, I have 2 titles for it right now. I'm not too sure. One is Glory, or one is The War of Balindor.
Sounds interesting, considering the way the first one went. Tell us a little bit about the characters, because well, it does have a Christian slant to it. It isn't as religious as some other Christian authors.
Yeah.
It does have a lot of good messages in it, and you know, the struggles that people go through, and you know, learning boundaries, and
Right.
you know, just keeping the faith and you know, getting through struggles. So how did you come up with these characters? The main character in this book is Flax.
Yes, Flax and Kyra, they're both kind of 2 main characters, but yes, yeah, you're dead on, yeah.
And then I like Phelan, the beautiful elf that comes into the storyline.
Yes.
So that it does bring a lot of fantasy elements to it. But and then there's Cossack, Timber. Are we missing anybody?
You have Phelan, Flax, Cossack, Timber, Kyra, and also the bad guy, Miki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's such a great bad guy.
He is a good bad guy. You gotta hate and love the bad guy all at the same time.
True. So how did you come up with all these characters? Are they people you know?
I would say Miki is probably a combination of bosses I hated through my life.
Oh, that's always good.
It was more fun to put them in there. But most of the other characters, are people I've known or just mixes of people I've known through time. I have to say, Cossack, who is a sub character or minor character, is probably everything I ever wanted to be or strive to be.
That's because he's a warrior.
He's strong, he's true,
He's
he's
not
kind.
afraid to fight.
He's
and
not
get-
afraid to fight, but he's also humble, right?
He
He's-
can be humble.
Yes, he's got some good humble qualities. But the main characters, you have Flax. A lot of Flax's troubles he has in life and weaknesses, I think really come from myself when I was a child. And a lot of that from school and the learning disabilities, and just that feeling of, oh my God, I can never actually do this. He's always challenged with that
Right.
throughout the book. It's his faith that really keeps Flax going. You'll see time and time again throughout the book him doubting himself. Yet he always has faith in the prophecy, in heaven above, and his friends help him out now and then when he gets really low.
I know, that's true. You did write that in really well, by the way. So what about you? What type of learning disabilities did you have in school?
I was labeled dyslexic. But dyslexic is an interesting term because a lot of people think dyslexia is really just words turning back and forth or what have you, saying things backwards. And it's much more than that. It's really a learning disability where you have most dyslexics have trouble reading, some have trouble speaking, and it's really many different learning disabilities under that one phrase. Yet everyone kind of floats towards the words going back and forth or what have you. And I do find myself doing that from time to time. I'll mention things backwards, write things backwards, but it's more than that. Yeah, it's more than that. It's a learning disability, and it's something that many successful people have had in their lives. And that's a message that I'm hoping to bring back to the schools and talk to the children that now have learning disabilities. My youngest son has learning disabilities. And talking to him and kind of coaching him through those challenges, I realized that there are thousands and thousands of kids just in probably my local schools that need the message to let them know that life doesn't end if you get a C or an F, or you're having trouble remembering your spelling words. And there are amazing people that had learning disabilities, including Einstein himself. Tom Cruise is another one. I was actually reading late last night about his disabilities and writing notes down on him. And they need to know this. They need to know that even if they're not A+ students, life is going to be just fine.
Right.
And not to give up hope on themselves.
So did you have trouble reading when you were growing up? And
Yes.
what helped change that? Was there a book that helped you
Yes.
focus better? So
Yeah.
is it just helping these children find the right things to read to increase their... Because I think reading and arithmetic are really important. They really round you out and bring you forward. You need them for everything. You know, from driving down the street and reading street signs to giving change. So was there a specific book that helped you, you know, just gain that confidence to continue reading?
Yes, there was. There was. So in school myself, my biggest fear was the flashcards, because you would be like this on stage, and there'd be a bunch of students around, and they'd be bringing up words, and I could never get the words in time. So embarrassing. And you feel stupid, you know, and you want to be like everyone else, and you're not, all that stuff. Until I ran across a picture in a book, and it was a picture of a knight, and he was surrounded by all these really bad demons and all this stuff, and you know, he was doing the fantasy thing, fighting them off and all that, and I just wanted to know more about him. And that made me pick up the book and start reading it. And I had trouble with the words, so I picked up a dictionary, and I wanted to know that much. I would literally stop and try to figure out what words I didn't understand until I could find out more about this knight. And then I found out the book was actually a book of the game some people like. Some people say they're nerds, but it was a Dungeons and Dragons book. And it really kind of opened me up into that world. It helped me to start to read. I was challenged all the way through college, and even now sometimes I have challenges with it. I've managed to overcome it somewhat, but it's still there. But yeah, that book, the first Dungeons and Dragons book I ever picked up, actually helped me break in, and it also taught me math and statistics at a level where, at an age where most kids didn't understand them. But it was tough to read it too, because once I started reading it and telling people about it, you got the different blowback. You got, oh, it's for geeks and nerds. And I hung around with a lot of the football crowd. I played football, so that was tough. And then also you had the people that think it's all satanic worship or what have you.
Right.
So then I actually got, I don't want to say I got fired, but a sub shop I used to work at, the wife of the man who owned it found out I played Dungeons and Dragons and went from loving me as a son to very fearful of me.
Oh.
Yeah, she was a wonderful person, but she had had some bad experience with someone else, so I understood. But yeah, it's kind of funny.
Oh, well, reading affects everybody differently. Everybody has a different perspective.
Yes.
So do you think that students with learning disabilities, it's just really important for teachers to continue to try to meet their interest instead of, because public schools especially, can be so structured.
Yes.
So did you find that difficult?
Well, it's funny. There's two different worlds I found in the public sector. When I was a child, I was really pushed to the back of the classroom. And whatever happened, happened, right? I managed to get through school, but I found myself relating a lot to Tom Cruise, where he felt even when he had graduated high school, he was still illiterate. And I felt the same way. Yet in today's schools, where my son is, I can say the teachers are much more caring and understanding and open-minded. So that is there. I first went to school looking for my old teachers when I met them, and I found a bunch of very motivated, dedicated, caring people. But the students still feel that, the pressure, they want to be like everyone else. Why can't they learn? That's still there.
Right.
And the teachers do the best they can, but I think they need some examples, and that's what I want to bring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if you can promote children's interests, you can help them with a lot of different things to overcome them. So, Christian Slant, what's your frame of reference? What are your favorite genres? What type of writers do you follow?
I was thinking that on the way in here, too. There's a bunch of different authors I like, but I think 3 or 4 that I want to bring up is David Eddings. His fantasy writing I love. J.R. Tolkien is another one that, of course, I can't put down. And also biblical, the Bible. Some stories in the Bible I do like, very much so, and you'll see them throughout the book. And also the Book of Thomas, which was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's really not a book as we know it. It's more a bunch of sayings that he wrote down from Christ or his own teachings to his disciples later on, if that's the right word. But I find it fascinating to read it, especially it was Doubting Thomas, right? That's what they called him. So it's fascinating to read it. Is it true? Is it not? That's up for everyone to figure out of their own faith base. But I find that fascinating. And there's a saying in the Book of Thomas that I'm not going to get correct right here, but I can paraphrase it, where some of the people were asking him, we have problems, Thomas. We have issues. How come God never talks to us, right? Why can't we hear him? And Thomas told them, if you just go to a quiet place and listen, you'll hear God and you'll hear the answers to your questions. And in my book, you'll find that now and then. Cossack references it now and then. The priestess Kyra also comes across it a lot. And I don't want to get too spooky here, but I've done that myself, practiced it, and I felt like I've walked away with the answers I've needed. Now, spiritual people can say it's heaven. Scientific people may say it's your inner self or whatever, but it works either way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little more about books 2 and 3?
Sure.
What's coming up?
Sure. Well, book 2 is Rebirth. So the overall, I guess the overall message of the series is forgiveness, rebirth, and then back to glory again. And that's what each book brings you through. So book 1 is atonement. So it's really seeking forgiveness. And what's important, and I think a little bit different in this book, in this series, that comes across, or I'm trying to kind of get across, is that forgiveness is not just at an individual level, but can happen at a national level. I really feel like people have a cultural awareness, and a nation can be forgiven for its sins. And that comes across in all of the books. So not just the individual characters may go across this, it's even at a national level, where they once lived in a great nation named Balandor, and it fell. And the reasons why Balandor fell was really not by force of arms, although that does happen in the book. What it is they lost their morality. And what
That definitely comes across.
okay, thank you. And that is that's what the 3 books are trying to display. So the first one is forgiveness. The second one is after you've been forgiven, the rebirth, right? Kind of stepping out into that spring day, or like a cool day like today, the fresh mountain air. And then 3 is return to glory.
Great. So rebuilding after a war or something like that.
Yeah, so rebirth is, book 2 is really the different cultures within that one nation getting past the forgiveness and coming together, coming anew. And then book 3 is glory. And there's a war anti-war subplot going on in book 1 that you've read, and goes on through book 2 and book 3. And book 3, the War of Balandor, or Glory, whatever I call it, it'll become strong there. And the real question starts to come through the books, and I want it to come out strong in 3, is what really wins conflict? Is it force of arms, or is it love? And that's the question that's going to really be asked at the end, or hopefully it's answered.
Right.
But I want to bring the writers there, the readers there,
Right.
themselves, and see if they'll come across.
Great. So when do you expect to be published? For the first book?
Next year, it's there. It's on the
2015.
shelf. We're waiting for the big ta-da to publish it. You have to talk to my agent on it, but next year is what we hope.
Very good.
Yeah.
So is there anything else we should know about you as a writer? What's your favorite book of all time?
Oh, gee, favorite book of all time. Well, I can't say the Book of Thomas because I've talked about that too much now. Maybe a book that I've read just recently, Killing Kennedy.
Oh, how was it?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was very, very good. I started reading Killing Jesus, which is a strange name, but I'm liking that. I just haven't had the time to finish it. But that's probably my recent book that I love the most.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and good luck with getting it published.
Thank you very much.
It really was a fantastic read, and it was so much fun to read because it hadn't been published yet.
Yeah. Well,
So-
thank you.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions, and you can overcome anything. Just check out Derek for more information. We'll see you soon.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.